Good morning. Welcome in RNQ NIOS classes, chapter number 5, Modern India. The history of our country's safety be divided into ancient, medieval, and modern periods. The ancient period started long ago, as long as humans have lived on earth. In the earlier lesson, you read about what happened in medieval India. From about the 8th century AD and latest till the beginning of 18th century. Now we shall read about the modern period in history. During the last two periods, you must have found the society, economy, polity, and culture very different from each other. These differences, which you may also call progress, developed, continuous, and increased at a very fast pace and had very much more deeper impact on our lives. You may recall that all those who came to India from outside, such as Turks, the Afghans, and the Mughals, made India their home. But the British colonial rulers always remained foreigners to this land. Non- Nonetheless, they brought profound social, economic, and political changes to shift their interest and in process left deep imprint on many aspects of Indian culture. If you see Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi, you can have a clear picture of the British impact of Indian architecture. You see the pattern repeated in many buildings in Kolkata, Mumbai, and in several other parts of the country. All these have now become a part of our culture heritage. Apart from these, architecture remains the colonial state also left behind a uniform system of government, a system of education based on Western ideas, science, and philosophies. It would be very interesting for you to know that the social and religion reform movements begun in 19th century helped to build a modern India as well. Modern literature in India languages were all deeply influenced by the spread of English education and through it India's intimate contact with the ideas and institution of the West. Now let us discuss objectives. After reading this lesson, you will be able to trace the events that were taking place in the West racing during the 18th century and their impact on India. Describe the closing years of 18th century India. Examine the social condition of the Hindus and Muslims during this period. List to contribute of social and religion reform like Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Swami Dayananda Saraswati, and others. Appreciate the role of press and newspaper in generating nationalism among the people and appreciate India's struggle for independence. Now discuss rise of the West and its impact on India. From 1450 onwards, these three important developments had changed the shape of Europe. First is the invitation of a printing press. Second is the beginning and the spread of the Renaissance and the Reformation movements. And third is the discovery of new trade routes. Thereafter, Europe made great progress in the field of science, explorations, and culinary. Soon, their armies and navies become the best in the world. Scientific education began to spread, logic and reason thus become the touchstone on which the old dogmas and learning were tested. Among these European countries, the Portuguese and then Dutch, the French, and finally the British entered into race to control the trade from India. The British ultimately success is in not only controlling trade but also the country for about two countries, India remained under her domination, where her entire human resources were recklessly exploited and her wealth was drained away for the benefit of the ruling nation to further their interest. The British used the privileged social and political situation in India, where a large number of states had cropped up after the decline of the Mughal Empire. The British took advantage of this situation and had one ruler fight against the other or supported a usurper to the throne. Through the Tipu Sultan of Mysore tried to use the same principle as used to the British, that is, making use of the rivalry between the French and British. He could not match the superior diplomacy and firepower of British. The British domination of India built upon successive phase. The first phase consisted of taking hold of the Indian trade. They bought Indian goods at very low prices and sold them in the Western market at very high prices, thereby making enormous profits without giving anything to the peasant. In this, they were helped by the Indian seats and go- Gomestas. In the second phase, the British took control of the production activities in a manner that would suit their export objective. In the process, they successfully destroyed the Indian industry. This was because India was a potential buyer of their goods. The third phase was an intensified phase of British imperialism and colonial exploitation when India was ruled by the British for fulfilling British economic interest. The Britishers came to India making profits through trade. Slowly, they gained political and economical control of the country. After the Battle of the Plassey in 1757 AD, they had become the real master of Bengal. They used political control over Bengal to increase their trade and export of their foreign goods. And they eliminated the Indian as well as foreign rivals in trade so that there could be no competition. They monopolized the sale of uh, raw cotton and made the Bengal wear pay exorbitant prices. They imposed heavy duties on Indian goods and entering British so as protect their own industry. With the coming of the Industrial Revolution in Europe, the Indian industry were hit very hard. By 1813, the Indian handicraft lost both the domestic as well as foreign market. Indian goods could not compete with British factory made products as where machine were used. On the other hand, the English merchant had accumulated a lot of wealth which they now invested in setting up industry and trade. The East India Company helped in financing and expanding their industry ways. During this time, there was a class of manufacturer in England who benefited more from manufacturing than trading. They were interested in having more raw materials from India as well as sending their finished goods back. Between 1793 and 1813, these British manufacturer launched as a campaign against the company, its trade monopoly, and the privilege it's enjoy. Ultimately, in 1813, they succeed in apologized the East India Company as monopoly of Indian trade, with the India become an economic colony of industry England. As a result, Indian had made goods faced extension. British machine made goods were cheaper. These goods either had a free country or paid very low tariff rates to enter India. Indians were to modernize so that they could develop the taste for Western goods and buy them. The Indian industry suffered as a result of exploitation at the hand of the British, who did not at all care about Indian trade interests. They did not protect India trade, nor did they introduce any advanced technology in the country during this period. Indian handicrafts suffered when foreign goods were given free entry. On the other hand, Indian handicrafts were uh, tasted heavily taxed heavily when they entered Britain. Indian sugar mills paid duty three times its original price when sent to British, so the trade from India virtually came to a shop. India had become an excellent consumer, British goods, and a rich supplier of raw material by the year 1813 AD. Since England wanted to exploit India for commercial gains, that is, buying raw material and selling finished goods, they introduced steamships and railways in India. The railways opened a vast market to the British and facilitated export of India raw material abroad. Do you know that it was 1853 that the first railway line running from Bombay to Thane was opened to public? The railway concentrated the raw material producing areas with the exporting ports. As a result, British goods flooded the Indian market. Do you know that the railways played an important role in the national awakening of the country too? They helped bring people and ideas come closer together, something that the British had never anticipated. Isn't the ironical? Do you know that it was against in 1853 that Dalhousie opened the first telegraph line from Calcutta to Agra and also introduced the postal services in India? India in the 18th century economy, society, and culture. India in the 18th century was a picture of many contrast and contradiction. Economically, agriculture was the main occupation of the people since the rulers were constantly at war. They didn't have the time to improve agriculture condition of the land. Foreign trade was flourished under the Mughals. India imported pearls, raw silk, wool, dates, dry fruits from the Persian Gulf region, coffee, gold, drugs, and honey from Arabia, tea, porcelain, and silk came to India from China. Luxury goods were to also brought in the from Tibet, Singapore, Indonesia, Iceland, Africa, and Europe. India exported raw silk fibers, indigo, sugar, pepper, and many other things. Con- Cotton, textile were famous all over the world. Modern India, in spite of such favorable balance of trade, India economic condition could not improve because of the constant welfare within the country. There were revolt of the Sikh, Jats, Marathas, and from outside foreign invasions like that Nadir Shah 1739 AD and Ahmad Shah Abdali 1761 were common. By the 18th century, European countries like France, England, Portugal, and Spain were interested in trading with India. They helped in creating more political and economical instability in the country, and ultimately they destroy its economy. But by this time, India fa- uh, fame had spread all over the world as a land beautiful handicrafts. Socially, socially there was no unity of pattern in the social and cultural life of the people, whether they were Hindus or Muslims. There there was division among them on the basis of reason, tribe, languages, and caste. Caste rules were being observed matter of marriage, right, interdying as well as choosing as a profession. Anyone found disobey in the rulers rules was most likely to be thrown out of the community. In the field of science, and that India which was so advanced had by now neglected her mathematical and science. They remained ignorant of the advantages made in the field of science by the West. Teachers were respected in society during those times. Education was steeped in tradition. The students were tough reading and writing along with arithmetic. Girls seldom went to school. Education was not patronized by the state but by local rulers, members of the aristocracy, and benevolent contributors. Hindu-Muslim relation. Friendly relation existed between the people of the two religions. Religious tolerance was practiced. The wars were political and fought for a selfish reason rather than the reason member of both community participated each other festival. Many Hindus and faith in Muslim sons, while many Muslims shows on equal respect for Hindu gods and sons. In fact, the upper class Hindu and Muslims had many more things in common with each other than with the lower classes of their community. Beside, the Muslim had adopted the Indian style and culture as well as it was difficult to distinguish one from other. Social condition. By the turn of century, century, the condition of women had little to be happy about. The birth of a girl child was considered to be unfortunate. Girls were married off in their childhood. Polygamy was permitted. Women had no right to pro- property or divorce. Perpetual widowhood was the injunction of the society, especially amongst the upper caste. These widows could not wear colored clothes or attend marriage since their presence was considered inauspicious as child marriage were common in such auspicious sometimes even the in, infant girls in fact girls widows were condemned to perpetual widowhood. Intercaste marriages were not allowed. Even the prevailing social system didn't permit a person from lower caste to eat with a person of a higher caste. The condition of Muslim women was much the same. They faced immense hardship due to the practice of pardah, polygamy, lack of education, and girls and right to property. Social and religion reforms. Christian princes came to India along with the employ the East India Company to perform their religion rituals at the time of baptism, marriage, burial, and church services. But these princes soon started preaching Christ, Christianity to the non-Christian employee of the company as well as slowly they started opening schools that were attended by the Indian children. It was these missionaries who also started the printing press and magazines for disseminating Christian prospects and literature. Along with the Christian propaganda, English education was introduced, which had a great impact on the society and economy of India. Through the purpose of introducing English education was to fulfill British political and administrative needs. It opened the window for Indians to the West. They embraced new ideas of liberalism, rationalism, democracy, equality, and freedom. Soon, English language also became the lingua franca of the English-educated Indian and acted acted as cementing force. Ram Mohan Roy. Ram Mohan Roy is known as harbinger of the modern age of India. He mastered several languages including Greek and Latin. His role in reforming the Hindu society and the rebacking of India important, as a large number of social practice prevalent amongst the Hindu at the time claimed to have religious sections. Raja Ram Mohan Roy cited extensively from the religion test to show that this was not true. The foremost in the uh, list was Sati. Sati was i- immolations by widow on the funeral pyre of her d- dead husband, which had become a self practice in different parts of Bengal and Rajasthan. Ram Mohan Roy took by kuddles against it and ultimately got it banned. He founded the Brahmo Samaj, which carried this message of rationalism and the principle of social equality. His followers believed in the worship of one superior god, monotheism, and opposed ideal worship, polytheism, and ritualism. Devendranath Tagore (1817 to 1905) succeeded Raja Ram Mohan Roy as the leader of the Brahmo Samaj. He tried put new life into Samaj and propagated Raja Ram Mohan Roy ideas. Keshav Chandra Sen (1838 to 1884) took over the leadership from Tagore. All the time, the Samaj led emphasis on individual freedom, national unity, solidarity, democratization of all social institutions and of social relation. The Brahmo Samaj became the first organized vehicle for the expression of national awakening in India. Prarthana Samaj and Ranande. The Prarthana Samaj was established in Bombay by Dr. Atma Ram Pandurang in 1867. They tried to introduce social reform like intercaste dining, intercaste marriage, widow remarriage, and improvement of the lot of women and repressed classes. According of Renard, rigidity in religion would not permit success in social, economic, and political spheres. He believed in the unity of God and de-emphasized ideal worship as well as the caste system. Ramakrishnan Paramhansh. Ramakrishnan Mission was founded by Swami Vivekananda to regenerate Indian society. He was a disciple of Gangadhar. He wa- Gadadhar Chattopadhyay, later known as Ramakrishnan Paramhans. Vivekanand gave final shape of to the teaching of Ramakrishna Paramhans. He advocated liberty, free thinking, and equality. He emphasized on less of all religion. He promoted the Vedanta philosophy, which he considered to the most rational system of thought. Theosophical Society, and Annie Besant. The reform movement was also strengthened by the Theosophical Society founded by Madam H.P. Blavatsky 1837 to 91 and Colonel H.S. Olcott along with others. Annie Besant promoted study of ancient Indian religion, philosophies and doctrine. She also established the Central Hindu School to encourage education. Narayana Guru. Narayana Guru was a great sant of South India. He was born in Kerala in September 1854. He underwent preliminary education under the guidance of local teacher. He became well versed in Malayalam, Sanskrit, and Tamil. He had set his heart on the path of relu- renunciation right from the adolescent days. After his parent died, he set out on his journey in quest of true knowledge. He came in contact with Chatambiki Swamigal. They become great associates. They spend their time serving holy men, meditating in solitude, and making pilgrimages. Both Swamigal and Narayana realized that the all-around progress of Kerala depended on the goodwill and cooperation among the Nayar and Izafa communities in which they were born respectively. The conflict between these two communities threatened to ruin Kerala. They decided to work to bring the two commu- communities together. Narayana Guru was a social as well as religion reformer. He lived a life of an ascetic and did much to improve the spiritual as well as the social life of the people of Kerala. Muslim reform of movement. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan was the most prominent social reform among the Muslim. He realized that the Muslim could only make progress if they took to modern education. Syed Ahmad Khan was against religion intolerance, ignorance, and irrationalism. He denounced pardha, polygamy, and easy divorce. Syed Ahmad Khan started the Aligarh movement, established he established he established the Mohammedan Anglo-oriented college at Aligarh. It was meant to be a center of spreading science and culture. It was latter grade was Aligarh Muslim University. The Aligarh movement helped in Muslim reveal. It gave them a common language, Urdu. A Muslim press was also developed, also a compilation of the work in Urdu. Unfortunately, in his later years, Syed Ahmad Khan encouraged the Indian Muslim not to join the national movement. He left that education and not politicals can needed by them. In a way, he encouraged the forces of communalism and separatism at this stage. Social reform. Do you know that the nearly all religion reform contributed to the social reform movement too? This was because the backward feature of Indian society, such as casteism and inequality of sexes, had religion sections in the past. There were two main objectives of the social reform movements: equality with man. First one is emancipation of women and giving them equality with man. Second is removal of caste rigidities, especially the abolition of untouchability and upliftment of depressed classes. Uh, Emancipations of women. The most string change in the India social life of today is that the position of women attempt have been made by the state and reformed to do away by the uh, with the practice of early marriage of legislation. The women themselves have been jealous in making attempts to improve the lot in all possible ways, like better facilities regarding education and social abuses. There is now a growth of political consecution among growth. In 1930, the Sharda Act was passed fixing the maximum age of marriage for boys at 18 and girls at 14. Do you know that the Maharishi Karva was awarded at the Bharat Ratna for his great work in field of women's education. He started school for girls as well as working houses for widows and destitutes. Soon, this movement gained m- momentum, and many schools and colleges were opened for women. Struggle against caste system. Immense work has been done in this field by the Ramakrishna Mission and the Arya Samaj. The Arya Samaj especially has contributed a lot towards it by their sh- uh, by their Sudhi movement, that it was from purification by which those Hindu who had converted to Islam of Christianity, Christianity could come back to their own religion. Champions of the backward classes were B.R. Ambedkar and Mahatma Gandhi. Ambedkar opened many schools and colleges for for their benefit. Mahatma Gandhi, on the other hand, uh, championed the cause of untouchability, who he had called Harijans. He asked for temple to be thrown open to them as well as the equal treatment to them. Even the Constitution of Free India has given the legal and constitution support to this movement. Untouchability was declared a punishable offense, but we still have a long way complete equality and equity, a society where all the members, men or women, coming from any social or economic background, are happy and their needs fulfilled, and we will all have to work together to bring about such a situation. Swami Dayanand. Swami Dayanand's greatest asset was his mastery over the Sanskrit language and the Vedas. He felt that the married social and religion evils which had crept into the Hindu society over the century were due to the lack of true knowledge of the Vedas. Therefore, he challenged the Hindu society of the on the issue of idolatry and women education. In 1875, he founded the Arya Samaj. Its main aim was to propagate the true knowledge of the Vedas and discard all evils that had crept into the Hindu society later in the same name. He opposed untouchability. He was similarly opposed to poly, polytheism, Avantravanda, and ritualism. His slogan was "Go back to the Veda," who authority he accepted. For the first time in the history of India, the Vedas were printed in India under his patronage. Personally, the most important work was Satyartha Prakash, Prakash, the Light of Truth. In 1883, Swami Dayanand left his body after an eventful life. His followers started a Dayanand Agro Vedic School and College in Lahore, now in Pakistan, in 1886. This uh, the Dav movement was uh, carried forward his work since then, and now he has over 750 institutions under one umbrella. As a result, the works of these two pioneers and other equally well-known personalities and organizations like Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Radhakant Dev, the Theo- Theosophical Society, and the Arya Samaj, a large number of people in eastern and northeastern India were subsequently worked, and many of the social evils were banned with the help of Britishers. Jyotirao Govind Govindrao Phule (1827 to 1890), known popularly as Jyotiba Jyotirao Govindrao Phule, was born in Pune 1827 in a lower caste family of Malays. According to him, the only way to improve the lot of the lower caste and women was through education. So he opened a school especially for the lower caste and also started the Satya Sudhak Samaj in 1873. His main aim was to seek social justice for the people belonging to the so-called untouchable and backward classes. Recognition for this work came to him in latter year, and he was elected to the Pune municipality as member. Pandita Ramabai, 1858 to 1922. One of the most important names among women social reforms of this time in India and more in Maharashtra is that of Pandita Ramabai. After her parents died, she, along with her brother, continues to travel from place to place, giving discourse on the Pura, Purn- Purnell's. Consequently, her reputation as a scholar and religion speaker spread far and wide that the Pandits of Kolkata also invited her to address the people of the city. Everyone was aston- astounded by knowledge and elocution, so people began calling her Pandita, a title bestowed on the learned woman. In 1820, in 1882, Ramabai moved back to Pune. Naturally, she was drawn to the Pradhana Samaj, a reformation society which was propagating the message of the Brahmo Samaj in Maharashtra. Here also concentrated on improving the condition women. In 1819, she started Sharda Sadan, a home of widows. Mahadev Govind Ranade, R.G. Badkar, Badkar, Dadabhai Naroji were other well as personality who worked for social reform in Western India. Press and the growth of modern India languages and culture and literature. In 1798, lithography was invented. It used the specially prepared surface of a stone for printing a script, a picture, or drawing. A large number of copies of the same text could be printed in this way. From about 1820 onward, hundreds of pamphlets and books were printed which catered and to the needs of the growing literate population of India. It was the biggest boon which the West and conferred on India. As a result, by the end of 19th century, press had become a powerful tool for influencing public opinion. Since the new presses were not costly, their number grew a fast pace. This is in turn encouraged large number of writers to produce literature in different Indian languages. Their original works as well as translations and adaptations of old Indian and Western classes helped enrich our cultural heritage. This helped bring about an awakening of the Indians. Wakings, fortnightly journals and daily newspapers were published almost in every languages, although the total number of readers of newspaper was small as compared to the number in European country. A whole new set of national literature in the form of novels, essay and poem played a significant role in generation nationalism. Bankim Chandra Bankim Chandra Anand Mantha, written in Tamil, and Alfu Bhushan work in Urdu, stripped the mind of the Indian role of newspaper. Thus, by the end of 19th century, the press in India had become a powerful and an important instrument for creating, spreading, influencing, and sharpening public opinion. Consequently, the newspaper played a significant role in discrimination of anti-British feelings by discussing, criticizing, and commenting on government policies and on major social and economic issues. They help in promoting a pan Indian constitution and in giving important political education to the people of India. Some of the important newspaper Bengal, the Hindu, Patriot, English, the Amrita Bazaar, Patrika, English, Bombay, Maharashtra, English, Keshari, Marathi, Madras में The Hindu, English, Punjab, The Tribute, English, Kohinoor, Akhbar, Urdu. India since independence. Independence India can rightly be proud of her achievement too. One of the most important achievement of post-independent India is the laying of a sound foundation for secular and democratic republic. The parliamentary system of governance adopted since independence has stood the test of time, and India is the largest parliamentary democracy in the world today. Integration of the erstwhile princely state into Indian Union is another major achievement. The recognition of the state is still an ongoing process, and new state and union territories are being formed as per needs and desire of the people. Economic planning and has been introduced after independence to ensure the country the sphere of economic development, particularly in the field of agriculture and agro-based industry. India also made commendable progress in fields of science and technology. In the high technology area also sees fast catching up with the highly developed countries, political and economic stability and countries. India voice is how heard with respect in international meeting because of her political and economic stability and diplomatic stake, stature in the region. The issue of India becoming a permanent member of UN Security Council is similarly gaining wide acceptance today. Nationalist movement, the beginning. British imperialistic colonialism was the chief cause of India backwardness in every sphere. Indians were now coming to realize this truth. The peasants and the workers were the worst victims of British greed and apathy. The industrialists and capitalists were also not satisfied with the British rule. The intelligentsia at time played a significant role. They were the first ones to realize the truth nature of British rule in India. Their initial hope British were greedy and selfish, guided by sheer personal self-interest and that of Britain in general. By the 19th century, all Indians were until in that they had all realized they had a common enemy, the Britishers, who were out to destroy India for their own benefit. The Britishers did help in bringing about administrative and economic unification of the country. They introduced the communication system of the railway, telegraph, and post, as well as developed road and motors transport, which contribute to this unification. Western thought and education that come to India with the British helped in arousing the consequences of the Indian people. Modern India's of democracy, humanism, nationalism, and sovereign- sovereignty of the people started guiding Indians towards nationalism. The press and literature played an equally important role in spreading nationalist feelings. There were many patriotic writers who inspired the people with their writing during the 19th century also came to a reveal of the ancient glory of India. It was spearheaded by some enlightened European who studied India's past and brought out in depth and glory. Some eminent educated India also contribute in this reveal by spreading the awareness of it in country. The racial arrogance and discrimination on the part of the British rulers in India, the education of the Britishers against the elaborate bill, Lord Lytham, an anti-India India measure and holding of the lavish British King Durbar in India when many Indians were dying due to famine, all led to the intensification of anti-British feelings among the Indians. All these become the reason for the spread of nationalistic feelings in the country during the 19th century. These feelings took the form of nationalistic movement with the advent of the Indian National Congress, stated by A.O. Hume in 1885. The history of the Indian National Congress became the history of the nationalist movement in India. The Congress didn't achieve much politically during this period that it in fact first 20 years of inception, but did succeed in creating political of awareness, no, and a feeling of unity. This phase can be called an era of modern in the national movement. The formation of Muslim leagues is considered to be first fruit. The Britishers master strategy of divide and rule. The British were happy that they had succeeded in separately that the 62 million Muslims from the Hindu, the arose the evil monster of communism in our country, the Home Rule movement. The First World War broke out in 1914. The Congress decided to support the British. It was believed, especially by the moderate, that the British would be obliged to grant freedom to India after war, but it was soon realized that this hope would not be fulfilled as the war was being fought to retain colonies. Consequently, two home rule legals were set up during 1950 to 1961, was started by Tilak at Pune and other by Annie Besant at Madras. These leaguers aimed the achievement of Swaraj of self-government. They gave the Indian nationalism a definite goal to achieve. The movement avoided violent or revolutionary methods. The Home Rule le- leaguers work and auxiliary units of the Congress 1905 to 1918 period. The period between 1905 and 1918 in our national movement is called the era of ex, extremist. The extremist criticized the moderate on this ground failure to define India political goals using mild and ineffective methods and failure to make the movements a mass movement. The extremists believe in direct political action and in demanding Swaraj or self-rule instead of constitutional reform. The radical faction of extremists was led by the trio popularly known as Lal Bal Pal, Lal 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 Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Bipin Chandra Pal, Bankim Chandra, Swami Vivekanand, Swami Dayanand Saraswati, and Aurobindo Ghosh. Aurobindo Ghosh inspired the extremist philosophy by the ideas and preachings, questions, repressive policies in India, which culminated in patriotic of Bengal on communal lines in order to divide and rule, become the immediate cause. Agitation there was an good an adoption of Swadeshi or in indi- or indigenously produced goods. The boycott and Swadeshi soon spread and become countryside movements. All sections of the society, including students and women, become active in the agitation, it became a mass movement. The British government used all kinds of violent repressive measures to suppress it. And 1999, 1990, 1919 to 1934 period. The Montagu-Shilford reform introduced Derachi in provinces with the Government of India Act 1919. The moderate welcomed these reforms while the extremists rejected them. The Rowlatt Act was also passed in 1990 to suppress political violence at the junction appeared a new face in political area of India freedom movement. This was Gandhi was filled the vacuum created in the top leadership to the Congress. Gandhi had led to movement against discrimination meted out in India's in South Africa. He had used the political weapon called Satyagraha, Truth Force or Love South Africa. He had and his first trip in India was Champaran Satyagraha. This was the beginning of the third phase of the freedom struggle, which can be called the Gandhian era. A movement against the Rowlatt Act was launched, but Gandhi took it back because violence erupted. He was strictly against violence. The Jali, the Jali Jallianwala the Jallianwala Bagh massacre took place in Amritsar on April 13, 1919. More than 1,000 people were massacred on the order of General Dyer. The Khilafat movement started in November 1919. The aim was to pressure the government to set right the wrongs done to the Muslim on the issue of Turkey. The Khilafat movement merged with the non-cooperation movement under Gandhi's leadership. He issued a manifest, manifestation on 10th March 1920 spelling out his philosophy of non-violence, non-cooperation. He laid down an elaborate program of boycott of anything British, including jobs, court, schools, colleges, function and goods. A constructive program include promotion of Swadeshi, removal of untouchability and promotion of Hindu-Muslim unity. C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru planned to break the system from within the council under the banner of Swaraj Party, but it failed within 3 years. Re- Revolutionary activities were revived in 1922 and went on till 1934. Sporadically prominent Sukhdev, Vishmal, Ashkulla, and many others. There were revol- revolutionary communities like Aman Roy and Muzaffar. Some communities were given long-term sentences in the Meerut conspiracy case. The Sheeman Commission was constituted in 1919 and sent to India for receive the political situation. It had forced non-violence but better protect demonstrations everywhere it went, as no Indian was included in the commission. Lala Lajpat Rai died of injuries he received a lathi charge while leading a peaceful demonstration at Lahore, an outline of Constitution of India was drawn as Nehru Report in 1928. In the Lahore session of the Congress in 1929, the slogan of Purna Purna Swaraj as the goal of was adopted. 26 January 1930 was celebrated as Independence Day. Gandhi undertook short satyagraha, popularly known as Dandi March, on 6 April 1930. The civil disobedience movement went on till 1934. In between, there was the Round Table Conference, but the movement had to be suspended. Gandhi retired from the Congress of October 1934, and Gandhi took up the cause of the depressed classes and the untouchables, whom he called Harijan. The Harijan Sangh was Sangh was established. Achievement of independence. In 1935, Government of India Act was passed. It evolved a concept of all India Federation. Provincial autonomy was introduced. Only 14% of the population could vote. Separate electro, elect, electorates were provided for Muslim, Sikh, Indian, Christian, Anglo-Indians and European among others. The act discouraged the emergence of national unity, encouraging separation and communalism. The Congress condemned the act, but it is decided to take part in elections. Elections were held in 1937. Congress ministers were formed in 7 out of the 11 provinces. This brought repels to the people in various ways. Socialist ideas grew both within the Congress well as outside it. Prominent Congress leaders like Nehru and Bose were also influenced by the society ideas. The British policy of leaders like Nehru and Bose also influenced socialistic ideas. The British policy of divided and rule led to communism. The British rules started playing one community against another. They tried to stem rising nationalism by appearing the Muslim and including them to ask for privileges and as minority rights. Communal elections were aimed at the same target of dividing and Indians and weakening the national unity. As a result of communalism, the two national theory was evolved in 1938 and clearly spelled out of by Jinnah in 1940. Non-Muslim communalism never assumed such serious dimension as the Muslim held at Banaras in 1933. The Arya Samaj established by Swami Dayanand and the Suddhi movement under auspices of the Samaj were important movement for strengthening Sangh, strengthening and purify the Hindi community. Dr. Hideshwar founder the Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh (RSS). This was aimed at awakening and organizing the Hindu people as the imbibing in them an intention spirit of nationalism. The the Sakha technique was evolved for this purpose when the Second World War was started in 1939. The Congress demanded complete independence. The Cripps Mission in 1942 offered Dominion status of India. Complete independence for was launched by Gandhi and the Congress in August 1942. movement under the leadership of Jay Prakash Narain were also active during this period. They will have to quite soon. Subhash Chandra Bose and Raj Bihari Bose launched the Indian Independence League and the Indian National Army INA, also Azad Hind Fauj at Singapore in 1943. With the help of the Japanese, the INA reached the Indian borders and captured Kohima, but there was reversal and Japan was defeated by the British Army. In the INA movement also collapsed while Subhash Chandra Bose was reported killed in an air crash in August 1945. After the end of the war, elections were held in India in beginning of 1946. The Congress won most of the seats. The cabinet mission came to India in March 8, 1946 to speed up the transfer of power to Indians. It published its recommendations on May 16. The cabinet mission plan was an elaborate one for the unlimited transfer of power. There was disagreement on plan between the Congress and Muslim League. In course of events, the Viceroy invited the Congress, resulted in communal riots and a lot of blood said the Indian government could not anything as the legal did not cooperation and stuck to their demand and a separation Muslim country. Pakistan British Prime Minister Attila announced in February the plan was for the transfer of power by June 1948. Lord Mount, Mountbatten was sent as viceroy to India in March to make arrangement for the same. The Congress had to accept the pet partition of India due to many pressures, especially because of the widespread communal bloodshed and the uncompromising attitude of the le- uh, uh, and Jinnah. India become free on 15th August 1947 after partition at the stroke of midnight 14 to 15 August transfer of power took place. What you have learned. The events like inven- invention of the printing press, the Renaissance and Reformation in Europe lead to the spread of learning which encouraged people to question dogmas. India's contact with the West had positive effect as this led a number of religion and social reform that challenged social evils such as the sati system, child marriage, denial of widow remarriage, illiteracy, female infanticide, and the caste system. The followers of Swami Dayanand, a great Vedic scholar, founded the Arya Samaj in 1875 and fought against untouchability, polytheism, and idolatry, and pleaded for equal status for women. The invention of lithography in 1798 was milestone as it helped the Indian to set up printing press in many cities and start newspaper and journals. It also led to tremendous growth of the modern India languages.